Welcome to the Roundtable. I am Jennifer Eller, and with me today is my co-host Mike Hill, our producer Nick Wilson, and we have two guests today. They are both from Place of Grace. So we have Jillian Parsons, who is the Director of Operations, and then we have Amber Osterman, who has two titles.
Wow.
She is the DSP, which is the Direct Service Professional. She's been working there for 2 months. And then she is the Gracefully Gourmet Social Enterprise Manager.
Wow.
I know that title.
I mean, that's a title. That's a good title.
Yes. So we're going to talk about the Gracefully Gourmet popcorn, because it's a really kind of a cool story and what Place of Grace is doing through that. So, Jillian, do you want to tell me how the idea for Gracefully Gourmet popcorn came to be?
Absolutely. We were looking at diversifying our funding sources for Place of Grace, and we were exploring different social enterprises. We had a individual from the Fletcher Group who is a social enterprise expert come and talk with us and give us some ideas. And we were thinking cleaning, moving. There's a lot of different options when you think of social enterprises, but or thrift stores, which wasn't a direction we wanted to go. And so she actually just dropped in our lap the idea of gourmet popcorn. And when we first heard it, it was so out of the box for us. We were like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But we started thinking about it and how we could get really creative with it. And so we just fell in love with it. And so we decided, we took it to the board of Place of Grace, and they gave us the green light. And so we bought the equipment, and our first manager of the program got us up and running. She was also a graduate of Place of Grace, and she did a great job getting us up and going. And then she was a nurse on the weekends, but got a nursing job during the week. And yay for her. But then that meant for us that we would need to find somebody else. And so Amber, a couple weeks ago, stepped into this position, and we hit her hard at the beginning and said, we need you to make 400 bags of popcorn.
Wow.
And she is a trooper.
That they had. Yeah. So everybody got popcorn when they left. So
And she did amazing and pulled it through, and it was delicious. So.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the overall vision that you guys have behind doing a social enterprise?
Yes. So we needed to diversify our funding to make sure that we have try to make us a sustainable organization. We do rely on donations, and but we also want to make sure that we are doing our part to play into that as well. But a bigger portion is to be missional with what we do. Within the first 30 days of the women coming into our program, they're on what's called a blackout, and so they don't work. They do a lot of intentional work within themselves. They have homework that they need to really dig into what got them there in the first place. And they are spending the entire day at home. And so one thing we thought we could do is to kind of start doing some job training skills, because it's typically been quite a while since these women have had jobs. And to kind of tiptoe into that world, because it's very intimidating for them to go get work. After 30 days, we do ask that they go to full-time employment so that they can be self-sustainable individuals in our community. But that for 30 days, anytime that they can get out of the house, they're eager to do it. And so this is an opportunity for us to give them some job training. They get paid to work and do the popcorn. And they're also working with Amber, who will speak into them and help them, be on time, learn how to do food safety. Some of them will go into the food safety world, some of them won't. But all these skills that they need to have to go into the workforce, soft skills, so that they can tiptoe into what they need to go into next. So it's really a missional work trying to get them built up.
Yeah, I just think that's just amazing.
Yeah, and so what's
cool.
so from a marketing standpoint, how are you guys trying to get it out? Like, or is that maybe the biggest challenge? To be able to get into those places, or?
So we are in the growing process, I would say. So we had done a lot of farmers markets this summer. We did mainly in Roanoke. We did a few events here and there. We tried to do tailgating, and now we are launching our website. And so we can do online. We're going to launch some subscription boxes. So if they want to pay a fee, they get popcorn every single month and exciting.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of our mode currently.
Right.
But we're always looking to grow in different areas. We have a great team that's creative and has all these ideas, but
Right.
we're getting there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just didn't know if you were going to try to be in brick and mortars, like be inside of stores, or are you going to try to, I mean, it's not something somebody can walk in somewhere and buy.
Correct.
Right. So it's going to
but
be.
they sell it here
Yeah.
at Cafe of Hope, and there's another store here in town, Homecraft, that they sell at home.
Okay.
Yeah. So brick and mortar is not on the table at this point.
Sure.
Who knows what God has for us in the future?
Right. So are you guys able to produce it there at the Place of Grace?
No, there is a church right next door, Trinity United
yeah.
Methodist Church, that has a commercial kitchen, and they let us use it for
Awesome.
free. So, and it's easy for our ladies to just walk over
Yeah.
and be able to work with us.
Right.
So.
And so in the future, the best way for people to be able to support it's going to be online and to be able to find that and be a part of that.
Yes. For now. And they can go to our website, myplaceofgrace.org.
Okay.
And there's a link on there for Gracefully Gourmet.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming, other than capital expenditures, most of the proceeds are going back to
Yes.
the supporting the ministry and the things that are going on.
Yes. Like I said, the ladies do get a wage
Sure.
to do the work. It's
Yeah.
not, we don't force them to volunteer,
No.
and they're not are forced
No,
to go
for
over
sure.
there. They get to choose whether they come or not.
Right.
But yeah, any profits go back into Place of Grace's program.
Right. Right. Good. That's awesome.
So Amber, what does I have to always lose this title. Yeah. The social enterprise manager, what do you do? What is that, your job entitle?
So I am the one that I make the popcorn. I fill the orders that we have got. We've just recently gotten a couple of orders after the big banquet event.
Awesome. So people who maybe went to the banquet, did they place orders? Awesome.
But yeah, so that's, and then oversee the girls when they come over to help.
So, like, how many flavors of popcorn do you have?
I think right now we have 15 different flavors.
15?
Yes.
Holy crap. That's a lot of flavors.
And then there's a couple of new recipes that I've just recently gotten that within the next couple of weeks I'm going to be trying out. So
Yeah.
How do
Awesome.
you get recipes? Like somebody send them to you?
I looked them up online.
Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
So-
Yes. That would be the best part. You get to be the food taster too. Like you're going to try them all and be like, I got to take a day of just checking stuff out and make some popcorn and eat it and popcorn and eat it. And,
Yes.
okay. Have you ever done one? You're like, oh, yuck.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Wow. Okay.
And the process, go ahead, Jillian.
I was just gonna say we have dill flavored, so
Yeah.
there may be some people that try that and think yuck. So yeah.
But you're
So-
saying that's your favorite,
That is her
though.
favorite.
Yeah.
The dill is my favorite
Yeah.
so far, between that and the caramel, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
that's
when
awesome.
people, like, when they bring home, like, at our house, they bring them dill chips. I'm like, what in the, who eats these things? And they love them.
Yeah.
They think they're the best tasting things ever. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I like dill. Tell us when we had sat down a couple weeks ago and we talked about this, you were telling me how the caramel corn was made, which I was just amazed at the process that goes into actually making this popcorn. So can you just tell us what that process is?
So with the caramel corn, you just have your sugars and your base that you melt together. That's more of a time consuming because you have to wait on it to get up to the temperature. And then once it does, you just you just mix it all together.
But there's a certain equipment that you put that
Yeah.
in to mix it. It's like
It's like I call it the cooker.
Oh yeah,
But it's
a great big.
It's like holds 5 gallons
like a
worth of
spinner
popcorn.
or something. It spins it
5
like in
gallons
Yeah.
worth of
Yeah.
popcorn.
So it cooks the sugar and it makes it caramelized and
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So each of our batches is 5-gallon buckets that we do. But with that one, then you have to, once it mixes, you dump it into a big pan, I guess, and let it cool with the chocolate drizzle is a lot more time consuming. You lay it out on sheet pans until once it's cool, and then you drizzle the chocolate and white chocolate on it, and you have to wait until that sets up, and so that's.
And there was even like a coating you had to put on it so the popcorn separated, so you didn't have it all clumped together with the caramel.
Which
I thought was very interesting.
I think it's called like a stickies or something, to where so it doesn't clump up and it's single pieces and not just a great big clump.
Do you have to have somebody walk through it, make sure every batch tastes good?
Well, I mean,
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You want a job
I'm just
doing
saying,
popcorn or
like
something.
when I
I mean,
show up, this is how it works. So when I show up to a get together, I walk through and sample every single thing before everybody's annoyed, and I'm like, well, you gotta have a taste tester, right? Like, you gotta have somebody go through just to make sure none of it's poison.
you're going to take the
make
one
sure-
for the team. If you die,
I know.
then it's all.
That's what I always say. Like, if I need to take one for the team, I'll go through and taste test all the food.
so that is one of the perks.
See?
I mean,
See?
you have to make sure that
You
it's
have to make sure it's right. Yeah, so it's like a bowl or 2 or 3 a day of.
So
popcorn.
hopefully I just don't run into any that I don't like. Nope.
Oh.
So how many girls typically go over there to work on the popcorn?
So this morning I had 3 girls that were over there with me helping. It all depends. Anywhere. Sometimes it's just 1. Sometimes it's 4. Depends on who all is home and who all wants to help out.
Yeah. So Tuesdays, if I remember, is your day to make the popcorn.
Yes, but I'm.
She's had some big orders.
So you have multiple days.
So I'm going to
Awesome.
start doing like Monday through Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah.
Just to keep on top of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Well,
So.
I mean, here's your plug, people, to buy popcorn for your stocking stuffers. So
Hey.
go get your orders in. But do you have any other questions about the popcorn before I say something else?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So Life Church's birthday is October 31st.
What a weird time to plan a church.
It is.
You ever think about
It
that?
is. It is.
Like whoever chose Halloween like to plan, but anyway.
Well, and in theory, it's the perfect
Right.
time, right?
yeah, probably.
So Life Church will be 20 years this year. And so to celebrate, we're going to give away popcorn. So they're going to come out with a 3-pack. So the first 5 people that text the word popcorn to the roundtable number, which is 260-408-8383. Yes, I had to look it up, but I still remember
I
it.
was like, where are you reading that from? Like, that sounds super impressive that you can remember that.
So if you're not part of our podcast group, you could text the word podcast to the 260-408-8383 number. So the first 5 people, I will contact you, let you know how to go about ordering that. So we just kind of want to, celebrate our birthday, come alongside Place of Grace and the gourmet popcorn that the ladies are doing, because it's a really great way to continue to do outreach into the community. So
Well, and listen, I mean, if people back to stop talking and start doing. So if there are Christian people in the community and you're making shopping decisions,
Right.
shop on purpose.
Yeah.
You can buy popcorn anywhere, but you shouldn't.
Right.
Right? You should buy popcorn where it matters, right? And I've always said that. If we're ever going to start making a difference in this community, people got to stop doing what's convenient and do what's right, and buy the popcorn to support something that's changing women's lives and making a difference in the community. Because again, we need to celebrate ministries that are becoming self-sustaining, right? Like that to me is an incredible vision to be able to do that, because it's not just financial, it's self-sustaining, and you're giving job training, and self-sustaining of you're giving worth again. Like when you've been
Right.
out of the workforce for a while, sometimes it's difficult to feel, what can I do? And so to get people prepared. So we have to support those things, and that's the way that it should be. And so whatever it takes, if it takes an extra step, for the people that are watching it takes an extra step. Make it an extra step, because that extra step matters, at the end of the day. So stop talking, start
Yep.
doing.
And there's other ways you can support Place of Grace also, and you can go to your website to do that. You can support a woman a month or something. There's a lot of different ways. And,
Right.
Place of Grace, they just open a men's home. Todd Little was on, well, a couple weeks ago, and so he's a part of that. And it's just amazing what all that they have done in the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Transitional housing, and like a graduate house.
We have
or
2 grad
something.
houses for our women.
Yeah, it just, I'm just in awe. I was in awe when I went to that banquet that they had of all the things that they are doing. And so people need to support them.
Yeah.
Yeah, support them.
And buy popcorn.
And buy popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, okay, Amber. So Amber was a resident of Place of Grace. And so it kind of came full circle. You know, you came into the program and now you're actually working there, which is,
Yes.
just so exciting. So, so you started addiction when you were 13.
Yeah. That's when I first started smoking weed, drinking. It was so growing up, you think your childhood is normal until you realize it's not. I struggled with a lot of emotional and mental abuse growing up. I didn't really have an issue until I was older.
Did that abuse come from someone directly in your home, like your mother or your father? Or?
So it was my mom's boyfriend. For up until I was 12, I was the man that she was with. It was she was not allowed to go anywhere, do anything. He was very controlling. I was to go to school, and I come home, and I was in my room. I spent most of up until I was 12 in my room. And then she finally left him when I was probably about 11. And, she got her freedom, so you know how that goes. My sister was born when I was 12. I think it was a week away from being 12. And so I did a lot of the raising of her when my mom wasn't around. Going through high school, school, I've always loved school. I never had issues with any kids. I didn't have bullies. I got along with everybody. But I was also a people pleaser, so still struggle with that one sometimes. I got married when I was 19, 20. We were married for 21 years when our divorce was finalized last year, but we'd been separated multiple times throughout that. At one point, so alcohol had never been one of my issues until probably 2014. I would drink, but it wasn't an addiction. I wasn't, an alcoholic. We dabbled with the meth and pills multiple times. It was a toxic relationship all around. We have 3 kids together. We have a son and 2 girls, and which are all 3 almost grown now. Our youngest is 17, and I have 18 and 21. We lived in Texas for a while, and that's where my alcohol really got bad. It was physical abuse, mental abuse, not only with me, but with the kids. So that's where the alcohol came in. We had moved to Texas not knowing anybody. So, the resources were limited on what you could get. Alcohol is legal. Okay. But in 2017 is when the kids and I left to come back home, and my drinking was out of control. I was drinking probably a half gallon of whiskey a day. on top of smoking weed, and then I ended up getting with another guy, and that's when the meth got really bad. With him, he was not abusive, but he was more immature than my kids. So I was mothering him on top of my kids, working 2 jobs. And then around the time that was probably around COVID, so everything was on lockdown. Obviously, you're still getting your unemployment because of it, and so it just made it easier to do what you wanted to do without getting caught. I went from the summer before I started getting in trouble, I guess, because I was good about, I never got in trouble. I was 39 years old before the first time I ever got arrested. And like I was losing my house, which meant that we had to go. We didn't have to stay with his family, but in order to continue my drinking, continue doing what I was doing, that's the choice that we made. It wasn't big enough for my kids, so the kids were going to go stay with one of their friends. So I lost my house. I was losing my kids. Because at that point they didn't want to be around their dad. They didn't want to be with him. And I just felt like I had lost everything. I was just so angry. So I dove deeper into everything. I was so angry at God because I've been raised in knowing who God was, but I'd also, scriptures had always been twisted and turned to make them feel better. The biggest one was the submit to your husbands. So I didn't trust him.
Because people would throw scripture at you to make you look bad and them to look good.
Yeah. And, why would I want to follow somebody that is so controlling and, mean? But I don't have that perception now, obviously. But I remember hollering and screaming because if you're such a good God, why are you letting this happen? The following year, we were staying at my boyfriend at the time's house, in a tent. It started out in a tent, and then it went to a shed, and it was just all around bad. Because I didn't want the help. It was okay for me. I've never had the best living situations, whether it be cleanliness. It's never been safe. Even when it was safe, it still wasn't safe. I've never had my own voice. I've never been able to take care of myself. I've never been on my own. And anytime I attempted to, I always failed. When I got arrested 3 different times within a year, The first 2, I was on probation. Failed every drug screen. I didn't care. Eventually, the kids ended up living with their dad. My girls have been in and out of behavioral centers for suicide attempts. A lot of just problems that I helped cause. And there's numerous suicide attempts on my part. There's just the people in my life weren't supportive. One in particular that, so you said, like boxing up your emotions and I'll deal with it later, suppressing all that. I've been able to work through a lot through a place of grace with the help of staff. Once you think something, you've worked through something else, he'll bring something else to light. And it's hard.
So when you were arrested that third time, is that when you went to jail for a longer period of time and then went to Place of Grace?
So, in 2022, I got arrested on May 5th. I went to jail for a couple of days. And then June 14th is when I got arrested and went to jail. I got sentenced to 6 months. I had to do 6 months at Fulton County. And then the funny thing, I was supposed to be released from there on November 9th. And when that came about, I had a hold for Kosciuszko County because I had failure to appear. And I was in one jail and didn't get. So they held me for that. And when I went to Kosciuszko County, I was writing my lawyer, calling him, trying to figure out, how do I get these dropped. And while I was in jail, I would go to the CR meetings and anything that would get me out of the block. But I wasn't. I was, nope, I'm already mad at you. I'm not. So finally, when I got to Kosciuszko County, I started reading. One of the books that I read was Battlefield on the Mines. And that helped put a lot of things in perspective. And once I realized that I wasn't getting out of there until God said, I started reading. That's when I kind of let go of a lot of the anger. I'm like, all right, one of the ladies had helped me get an application done for Place of Grace because I'm like, all right, well, then maybe they'll let me out if I get, okay. So I got accepted to there. My goal was to get out. My ex would pick me up, and then I'd have a little bit of time, do what I want, and then go. The day before I was supposed to get released, he got arrested. So I ended up having to go to my grandma's. But in January, when I was finally like, all right, God, I give up. I'll do whatever. My lawyer called me the next day. He didn't even know I was in jail. And he didn't know I was there, which is, I still don't get it. Well, I do, but I don't. And then a month later, I was released. My grandma's the one that came and got me to stay with her until I got to Place of Grace, which I was not thrilled about because I think I would have rather stayed in jail at that point than go to my grandparents. I know it was out of love, but man. And finally, when I got to Place of Grace, I was ready. Because I didn't know what to expect. I'd only been to rehab once, and it was a 30 days. As soon as I get out, I'm going back, getting high, getting drunk. When I first got there, I'm always real quiet. I didn't want to work on anything. I'm like, I'm fine. I can get through this. I'm sober. I've been sober. I'm good. But the biggest thing is working on the issues that you're hiding from. I didn't realize I was an alcoholic until I went to one of the meetings in jail. And I just thought that I could stop anytime. It was fine. But there's a lot of underlying issues that you have to work through in order to be able to stay sober, to be happy and be healthy. It's been the 28th will be, or October 28th of last year is when I graduated from Place of Grace. So it's been a year.
Almost a year. Yeah.
And
I feel like we should clap. I'm sitting here listening to her story, and I'm like, somebody needs to get out the tambourines and start running around, because listening, I'm just like captivated all the way up, and you're like, it's been a year. That's a lot to be proud of, and a huge, I just wanted to get up and run around.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Me get up and run around?
Yeah.
So, this is the first time I've been on my own successfully and being sober. I've got almost 2.5 years sober. And it has not been easy, not at all. But going through the program is where I learned about how loving and gracious God is, how much He's always there. There's times that there's no way I know I would not be where I'm at right now without Him. I had in May, my youngest, I had issues. She ran away, and from her aunts, because she was staying with her aunt here in Huntington, and she was with me through the whole program, making me work on the hard things that I didn't want to work on, calling me out on stuff, dealing with stuff the issues that my addiction caused them, the hurt, the pain. And so when she ran away, it was like I had lost her. And without having the community that I have with Place of Grace, the recovery community, even Harmony Home, I wouldn't have been able to stay sober, but I did. And I've always thought that having a relationship with God was just, yes, ask Him into my heart, do all the right things, but it is so much more than that. I actually feel His presence. I actually know when He's speaking to me. Doing this, I'm emotional right now, but any other time I would have been hysterical. I wasn't. I was nervous, but I wasn't nervous. I had peace coming in here, and I would have never had that. The things that doing the Gracefully Gourmet and working with the girls, working at Place of Grace, I would have never, even a year ago, I would not have thought that I would be doing what I am right now. A lot of the skills that I have is because kind of because he's put them on me. He's made me to grow with my previous jobs to know what I need to do. And I have no special training in anything. It's all learned skills. And it's,
Yeah, I got a few questions. So, like, and this is just an observation, and maybe both of you can talk through this. So one of the things that, and when I say certain things, obviously I'm not an expert on anything. So the mental health crisis, if that's the right word for young people today. So you talked a little bit about, like, when you're 12 and you're 13 and you're 14, like some of the things that you're dealing with in the home or trying to figure out. I would assume part of the coping mechanism of dealing with that as you got older is what led to some of the addictive behavior or some of the
not dealing with those.
Yeah.
Just suppressing them.
Because what we're trying to figure out is I think there are a lot of young people that are struggling through those things today and have no idea what it could lead to if they don't deal with them. You know what I mean? Like, I think your story, is awesome because we see the end, but in the middle, I'm assuming there's a lot of hard times, from the time, that this started to now that you're clean and sober and seeing a different side of all of that. But to help people not have to go through 10, 15 years of trauma in their life to get there, what do young people need to do? What is you guys' suggestion for them as they're struggling, whether it's at home, whether it's with mental health? And again, when I say mental health, I don't want to just throw it out as a blanket statement because I honestly don't know anything about that part of it. But I do think that people are struggling with those things. And how do people deal with it? What should they be doing today? What would be your advice?
So a lot of it is just suppressing everything. When you're hurt, not talking about it, setting boundaries. That it's something that should be set up at a young age. With my kids, when they're kids, they're just taught to, shut up and listen.
Just deal with it. Don't talk.
Yeah. And my kids, speaking, is they've dealt with a lot of the mental and the physical abuse as well, and they just need more people that can help walk them through it, that have been there, that know. It's what I've learned is, and my youngest has said this too, she's been to therapists and therapy, but unless you've been there, you don't know. You don't know how to help. And they're not going to open up to somebody who doesn't know. And I'm still working with them on that. With my youngest has been able to open up with me a lot more. There's things that I've done that I don't remember that I've done. But she was right there to call me out on it. None of my kids are followers of Christ yet. They have turned their back on him, just like I had. But, and that is he's helped me heal in places that nobody else could. They see that, but they don't understand it. But I've learned that if I push, then
No.
they're going to go.
I mean, the view.
But
I mean,
they
without
see-
words, they're watching
Yeah.
something transform without you ever saying a thing.
And with just being able to walk through them with it, to listen, and I guess listening and trying to understand what they're dealing with, and knowing that it's valid. Just, because a lot of times they think that just because they're a kid, it doesn't matter.
Right. Now, here's another one. I don't know if you can answer this question, but there seems to be a theme, and this is across the board, whether it's extreme and it leads to addiction or whether it leads just down a wrong path. But choosing the right partner, for a lot of people in their younger age has either if you get a good one, they'll pull you out of places that we shouldn't be and help us get on directions, or they take a kind of shaky path and turn it into a disaster. And I'm not saying that because I don't know about your first husband, but it seems like one of the things that we want to, especially for young women, to try to not get into toxic relationships that lead to that behavior. So you've been there and you've done it, right? Like, would you have advice for young women that, you've been at the end of it now. How do you make sure that you don't, or do the best you can to find somebody that's going to help you, not make you, I don't know if that's the right word, make you worse,
That's hard because, so we were married for 21 years. We weren't together the whole time, but we tried, we went to church. We were members of a church.
Oh, okay.
But it was the church that hurt us, so we stepped away. We went to a marriage counseling that was faith-based. But when I say that I've never known God like I do now, it was just doing the motions, I guess. Not having a relationship with him, but I didn't know that there was more to being a Christian than what I do now.
Yeah.
And so therefore we didn't have that. We just kind of had that.
Just kind of a surface level.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And now with kids these days, that's a hard one for me because there's so many different choices that they're making. When I was losing my house and losing my kids came out to me as non-binary, gay, and I was confused. I didn't know. That's not my choice. And I'm like, okay, we're just gonna add to, the layers of, but it's hard to give advice when they're not sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're not sure. So I'm like...
Yeah, I mean, I think if we could just
I wish we
stress or
could.
maybe emphasize whether it's who you're with or who you date or who you choose to have around you. I mean, it's kind of the obvious, right? Either leads us in a way that helps us get better or leads us in a way that helps us go down a path that's not good. And, that just, I think we undersell the idea of how important the people around us are. Because you're talking 20 years later that the thing that kept you sober, right? So you go down through that whole thing is community, right? Like the thing that got you off might have been community. Again, I don't know all of your story, but listening is who you're around and what happened led you, but this is what brought you back, and it's foundational to keeping you there is the people around you.
And I've never, so I went from being in jail to going to a house with, at one point there was 10 girls, and I never really got along with women that well. I mean, it's hard. We're not the easiest to get along with most of the time.
Well, and
I'm
you have
just
people with a
saying
lot of
that.
different backgrounds and a lot of
Yes.
issues, and you're all working through those. So that has to be hard to
And
live there.
So, but 3, I'm sure they're not going to mind. So Danielle, Olivia, and Amy went through the program with me, and they're 3 of my best friends now. And I would have never, I'm like, never would I have thought that I would have 3 girls that I'm this close with. And it's absolutely amazing because I've learned to build those friendships, and it's hard to, in the world today, find a true friend that is going to support you no matter what. And it's, you just don't have that anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, they have said, and I think it's going across the board. And there was a young man who committed suicide over at Northfield High School this last week, and that when they talk about this, it's just true. We live in the loneliest generation ever. People feel connected, but they're not connected. And I think that whether you're the youngest generation or older, is that we've grown into this. When connections are good, they're irreplaceable. I mean, that's what you're saying. Like at the end of the day, when you have friends you can talk to and count on, it's the greatest joy in life, right? To be able to have your people. But I think we've went away from deep relationships. I think the culture has become very surfacey of like, we can just know a lot of people, but not know anybody. And so you're proof of just saying like to find that is rare, but when it is, it's good, and we should all strive for it. Another question: what connected for you? So you went through Praise of Grace, you went in there, and like one of the things you talk about is in all of these years, God. I mean, you're upset, didn't understand, like all of those things you talked to, and then all of a sudden it clicked. What clicked for you as you were going through the program that helped you take 10 years, 15 years worth of, it's not working, I'm upset with him, it's not going well, I'm doing all the religious things, like I checked all the boxes, I went to church, I sang the songs, we went to counseling, we did, to, holy cow, he loves me.
I don't know. I guess it was just the people. We would do a women's fellowship once a week for one of our classes. It was called Mug Life, and the ladies there, the prayer, the church that I go to, Christian Fellowship Church out of North Manchester. Just being able to feel his presence and knowing how to ask and be like, I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. What do I need to do? And having those people walk me step by step, it's like, kind of, you need to dumb this down for me. I don't know what I'm doing. And it, they were good at doing that. And so and
it could have just been it was the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't undersell. Like, when it's the right time, it's the right time. And when we get ourselves to that place, I mean, and God shows up, it just clicks. Things that have not made sense for years, all of a sudden, make sense.
Yeah. And I think you just have to find the right people, the right people to, it's all in his timing. So, I don't know.
Sometimes it just takes them hearing that they can do it. There's
Yeah.
people in their corner.
Yeah.
You've got this. Yeah. So she's been doing it on her own,
Yeah.
and she's doing amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another reason to get up and run around and cheer, right? So as
If you
we're-
want to cheer, if you want to get up and run around, go ahead.
Hey.
I would get up and cheer 1,000 times. Great job. So, as we're ending up, okay, we're coming to the end. How can we be, so other than popcorn, how can we be praying for Place of Grace? How can we be praying for you?
So, Place of Grace, we have residents that come in with a lot of hurts and healing that they need to do. And so, prayers of open hearts and prayers of protection because they are entering a battlefield. And so, a lot of things come up in that battlefield. And so, praying protection over them. It's hard for us because now we're serving men. I've always said women. And so, individuals, if you could pray for both of them as they encounter those things that they have pushed and put in a box,
Wow.
as you said earlier,
Yeah.
because they have to open it up to be able to work through it, to maintain their sobriety. So that's a huge prayer for us, it's just for our residents, future residents, and our graduates, because the graduates, it's never over for them. Addiction is a lifelong thing for them, and so we have a lot of success stories, but it's still something they deal with every single day.
Yeah.
Yes. Strength.
Yeah. Pray for strength for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so when this comes out, if you are watching, or actually if you're listening, make sure you watch, because that's the one thing we say all the time. We have people that listen a lot, but we always say you need to go on our YouTube channel and you need to watch. That way you can just connect, face with the name. And again, when this comes out, make sure that there's multiple ways, as you said earlier, to be able to support Place of Grace, and we'll have a link, I'm assuming, so that people can go and be able to do not in any way support, but again, the new business for mission. I mean, it's not business for mission. Sorry, it's
Popcorn with a purpose.
popcorn with a purpose. Yes, sorry. So popcorn with a purpose. Make sure that we support it and be a part of that, because again, it's so incredible to see the sacrifice that you guys have put in to make a difference and to provide these opportunities for people, and we need to be able to come behind in multiple different ways to continue to allow it to grow, right? Not just to exist. So when it comes out, make sure you like, share, comment too, because that gets it out on lots of other people's pages and gives an opportunity for more people to be aware of the incredible things that you guys are doing and your incredible story. We're super proud of you.
Thank you.
Good job. Keep it up. We'll be praying for you. And again, I think your testimony, I've always said this, the testimony of those we made it, right? It's going to give courage, because there are people today that are watching, that are struggling, and they're going to watch and listen to your story and say, I can make it. Like, I can do it. I can get to the other side. So super proud of you.
Thank you.
Super proud of what you guys are doing, and super thankful that we get a chance to be a part of your story. So thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.